Hi guys, hello. I'm gonna get started in a few minutes here to give people some time to hop on, but I want you to start thinking about sleep because that's what the topic of today is. Think about maybe how many hours you got last night, how many hours you got over the weekend. Like I said, we'll get started in a few minutes here. I've got my content screen on the right here. So if I'm looking over there, those are my speaking notes. Okay. We'll do one more minute. Yeah, hello guys. Welcome on if you're popping on. I think we've got Dr. T in the chat. So she can answer any questions that you guys have while we're going, or after if you're watching the recording. We're monitoring the comments anyway, so you can keep an eye on that. Okay. So I'm going to start with an introduction. My name is Dr. Marissa, and I am both a physical therapist and educator on sleep for Movement RX. And right now, what I've been working on is putting together some research and some content for a leadership training that we're doing for an organization in a few weeks. And I came across a really interesting statistic on sleep as I was looking into all of this. And I'm going to grab my dog so she doesn't keep barking. Come here, Bee. Come on over here. Yes, good job. Okay. And that statistic that I came across when I was looking up some information on sleep is that 43% of business leaders aren't getting enough sleep at least 4 nights a week. And that was a study that was like a Mckinsey research study. At 43% is a huge number because we already know that around 30-ish% of Americans to begin with aren't getting enough sleep at night. And that is even worse in business leaders. So how do you know if this is you, and what are you maybe missing out on in your life if you're one of those people that aren't getting enough sleep? So we're going to talk a little bit about those things today, specifically centered around productivity and around pain. So how do you know if it's you? You know if you're not getting enough sleep, if maybe you are lacking energy during the workday, you're maybe lacking motivation. Maybe you're irritable or you're fatigued at the end of your workday. And then you might think to yourself, well, isn't that everyone? And the reality is that no, not every single person is exhausted and dead at the end of their workday. And some of that can come down to sleep, and some of that can come down to just your general stress load and how you're managing it. But sleep is important for that as well. You might also be someone who's not getting enough sleep if you find that you're one of those people that requires frequent trips to the coffee pot to stay sane, to stay approachable, or to stay productive. I know there's those mugs out there that say something like, don't talk to me until I've had my morning coffee. And so maybe if you're one of those people that has that mug and you carry it around with a sense of pride, like I'm miserable until I've had my coffee, maybe you're trying to use coffee to make up for a problem with your sleep, which is really, really common. So this webinar, this little live is for you. And then also if you're anxious, if you're overwhelmed during the day, if you're exhausted by your family life, and you already know you have unrestorative sleep, but you're not sure where to start, this information is for you as well. And the reason that we're talking about this is because getting proper sleep as a leader is a crucial part of your competitive advantage for many different reasons, but it's one of the lowest cost performance enhancers that we have because it impacts every single aspect of our well-being. It impacts our focus, our mood, our ability to be creative, how much energy we have during the day, our muscle recovery, our hormonal function, even long-standing pain problems, which is really, really cool. But I think a lot of people just don't give sleep maybe the priority that it requires because they're not totally aware of it. Some people tend to think about sleep like something that you can make up on the weekends. Like, well, I don't get a lot of sleep during the week, But then once I get to the weekends, I sleep in and then I'm good. I'm ready to start on Monday. But I want to encourage you to think about sleep a little bit more like hydration, right? You wouldn't avoid drinking water all week or intentionally underhydrate during the week and then think, I'll just catch up on my water this weekend, because you would know that every single day that you're in the office, or you're just trying to live your life, you don't do it as well when you're dehydrated, right? So we don't feel as energetic, we don't feel as recovered. We just kind of feel lethargic and bad when we're not getting enough water. So I want us to start thinking about sleep the same way, that you're going to have the impact of not getting enough sleep. That's going to show up on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. And you can't really make up for it on the weekends. So let's think about sleep a little bit more like we're thinking about hydration. Okay, so how does sleep impact our productivity in the workplace? So there's a couple of different ways that sleep is interacting with and affecting your productivity. And part of it is that our ability to maintain focus when we are sleep deprived is much worse than when we're fully alert. It improves our focus when we're well slept, our attention, our ability to catch errors, right? And so you might find that your work quality, or your ability to just notice when things are wrong and fix them quickly, is much worse when you haven't been having good nights of sleep. We also know that when people are sleeping well, they're learning faster, you're feeling healthier, you're managing your stress better. And so your workday feels a lot less taxing. And in that way, it's easier to get your work done. It's easier to be more productive. Okay. And then one of the studies that I was looking at showed a 20% boost, 20%, that's huge, 20% boost in productivity for people that increase their sleep from around 5 or 6 hours a night up to 7 to 8 hours per night. And kind of aside from that, it impacts the bottom line, because there's a couple of studies that have looked at sleep and productivity and found boostings in earnings anywhere from 1.1% in the short term to 5% in the long run. So sleep has a big impact on our productivity, partly because of our mood, partly because of our ability to focus. So the other thing that might be affecting your productivity is if you're somebody who's dealing with pain. And as a physical therapist, pain is really, really interesting to me, especially how sleep interacts with pain. And so if you're dealing with pain during the workday, neck pain, low back pain, wrist pain, shoulder pain, all of those pains are also impacted by your sleep, which is wild. And sleep impacts pain in a few ways as well. And one of these is just your ability to recover from day to day. One of these is because of the low-grade inflammation that is supposed to be dealt with at night by your body. Your body kind of manages the inflammation in your body at night and kind of tamps things back down again. But when we're not getting our full nights of sleep, or if the quality is poor, we're not getting that same tamp down effect on our inflammation. So that can bump up pain levels. We also know that that sleep is going to impact how your brain and how your spinal cord are sending the pain signals up to your brain. So it almost turns up the volume on our pain when we're not sleeping well. We do not want that. And then lastly, poor sleep also impacts our learning. Like we talked about with productivity, if we're not able to learn the same way as we would when we are fully slept, what that's going to translate to is a longer recovery time from any sort of injury or any sort of pain that you're having, because your brain is supposed to be learning that, okay, we're healing. So we're going to learn that these things that used to feel painful are now feeling normal again. And that can be impacted when you're not sleeping well. So where do we get stuck when it comes to sleep? I think there's a couple of places that people tend to get stuck. And one of them, like I mentioned before, is just that we're simply unaware of how critical sleep is for all of our body functions. We're unaware that sleep impacts our like our ability to lose weight. It impacts our cravings. It impacts our appetite. It impacts our empathy that we have with our partners. It impacts our pain levels, our digestion. Everything in your body is going to be impacted by sleep. And I think most people just don't necessarily realize it. And I think a lot of people will get stuck on the idea that, well, I've trained my body to get used to 5.5 to 6 hours of sleep per night. I haven't slept 8 hours since I was in my teens. So my body's gotten used to it. But the reality is that your body's probably gotten used to this new baseline, which is worse than what your optimal function could be. So that baseline is kind of a substandard performance, and you've just been feeling that way for 10, 20 years maybe, and have maybe forgotten what it feels like to be fully rested. Okay. I think the other place that we get stuck when it comes to sleep is getting caught in the stimulant poor sleep cycle. So we're not getting enough sleep at night. So we drink our coffee in the morning, and then we drink our coffee in the late morning, and then we drink our coffee in the afternoon to kind of make it through until 5 o'clock. But what we're not realizing is that caffeine that we're taking in all day is in our system another 24 hours later. So caffeine's kind of processed pretty slow. I don't want to say slowly by the body, but it's processed at a certain rate. And most of that caffeine is not out of your system for at least 12 to 24 hours later. And so the more caffeine that we're taking in, the longer it's going to take to clear. And that caffeine, if it's still sitting around in your brain at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning even, is that it's still doing the same thing in your body that it does in the morning, which is that it's keeping you awake. It's keeping your brain alert. It's pushing the sleepiness molecules out of the way and saying, brain, we need to stay active. And so that caffeine that we thought we were using to help make up for sleep is making our next night's sleep worse. And then when that next night's sleep is worse, we're caffeinating again in the morning because we got bad sleep, which makes the next night worse. And so it ends up being this, I call it the stimulant poor sleep cycle, because it just keeps spiraling and spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. And that caffeine, where it used to just bring us back to baseline, is no longer bringing us to a baseline, but it's bringing us kind of below our baseline because it keeps impacting the next night of sleep and the next night of sleep. So what I usually recommend for people that are struggling with this is that you just try and experiment for yourself, right? Everybody processes caffeine a little bit differently. But if you try an experiment for yourself where you first push the caffeine to maybe before 10 in the morning and see how your sleep goes for the next 2 weeks or so, that might give you an idea of what your sleep could look like if you weren't on that stimulant poor sleep cycle. And then I think the last place that we get stuck when it comes to getting really good sleep is that we're stuck kind of in this, because we've had these maybe years of only 6-ish hours of sleep, when our body wants maybe 7 to 9. For some of us, it's 7. For some of us, it's 9. But we get stuck in this kind of permanently irritable and stressed out cycle. And that stress and that irritability then kind of, again, puts us on a negative spiral. Because if we're stressed throughout the day and we're irritable throughout the day and we're really pessimistic and we're impulsive because we haven't been getting sleep, then it makes it hard to fall asleep again that next night, because you're kind of suffering the consequences of that chronic sleep loss. And then when you're irritable at night, you start ruminating on all of these things that are really stressful, and you're worried about the next day. And it ends up this horrible, horrible cycle that, again, we get used to. And it just makes it harder to live our lives. It makes it harder to feel good about our lives, to feel as stress-free as we can. It makes it harder to exercise. It makes it harder to do so many things that we really want. And we're not really able to trace it back to sleep because we're thinking, well, I've always slept 6 hours and I was never this miserable. The reality is that stuff kind of accumulates. Okay. So, well, I want to recap just a little bit here. And that's it. The couple things that we talked about are that we need to start thinking about sleep a little bit more like hydration, where we don't deprive ourselves of it Monday through Friday and then think we can rehydrate on the weekends, because we know that we're suffering the consequences on a day-to-day basis. Number two is that we're missing out on a certain degree of calm. We're missing out on some on productivity and focus and attention. And we're missing out on kind of our body's natural way of tamping down pain in our bodies when we're not giving our body the sleep that it needs. And for most people, again, somewhere between 7 and 9. That doesn't mean everybody's 7. That means that some people are definitely in between 8 and 9, and that's really normal. So if those people sleep 7, that's probably not enough. And then lastly, I did want to let you guys know that if this was resonating with you, one, share this with someone. We'll release the recording, or tag your friend in the comments, or tag your coworkers in the comments if you've got somebody who's got one of those mugs that says, "Don't talk to me until I've had my morning coffee," because maybe they just need more sleep. But if you're interested in bringing this to your team, we have Dr. T's in the comments here. She might have left already, but I'll see if I can put something in the comments here. But if you want to bring this to your team, we do a bunch of leadership trainings. We do these trainings that are called your competitive advantage, and it's about making your health a competitive advantage for you, so that you're at work and you're sharp and you're empathetic and you're focused and you're just in general feeling good about work instead of feeling miserable about work. So I'm going to pop that email in the comments here. I think it'll come through. It might not come through. Let's see. So you can shoot Teresa, Dr. T, that email, and we can talk about what some of the trainings would look like for your organization. So I can see a couple of comments here, and I'm going to try to respond to them. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, thanks, T. Okay, we've got Keith. What's going on, Keith? I only have 1 cup of coffee in the morning, followed by 1 cup of herbal tea with honey. Nice. Herbal tea is a great way to still drink tea, but without getting that caffeine. And then water the rest of the day. Nice. If I'm in pain and haven't been sleeping well for a couple of days, okay, we got a little cannabis before bed. Got it. CPAP machine for 20 years and sleeping like a rock. Nice. Yeah, lots of different strategies there, Keith. Everybody's got their different techniques, and I'm not here to tell you that any one technique is better than the others, except that probably limiting caffeine take is a really, really good way to make sure that you're getting better sleep. Even if you do that, like that caffeine washout, where you try that experiment and wash out caffeine for, again, try it just for the morning hours and then see what your life feels like if you take it out for just 2 weeks. And you might find that most of your sleep troubles go away if you take out the caffeine and you have some sort of relaxation practice that you can wind down your mind before bed. All right. Anything else in the comments? Again, I might not really be able to see all of them because we're streaming through a different platform here. Yeah, questions, anything? I'll see if I can get onto LinkedIn and the other panel here to see if I've missed any. Let's check that. But yeah, any questions you have on sleep or improving sleep, go ahead, throw them right in. Dr. T, there we go. And I'm going to look on LinkedIn to see if you guys put any questions in the event. Let's see. And we'll get rid of that. That's me right there. Okay. Okay, and no, I don't see any additional comments in LinkedIn. Okay, wonderful. So again, send this to any of your friends that you feel like aren't getting enough sleep. And if you are interested in bringing this to your organization, we love talking to organizations. So you can shoot, there you go, T. You can shoot Teresa an email at thatwellness@movement-rx.com. And hopefully we can get everybody sleeping better, everybody feeling better. Okay. Thanks for popping in, guys. We look forward to Dr. T's return on the LinkedIn Lives in, I think, maybe 2 weeks or so. Okay. Happy Tuesday? Wednesday, I think. Bye, guys.